Welcome all to Basic TDL Tutorials Session 3. In Session 3, we would be discussing about objects and collections. As in the previous chapters, we learned about the usage of variables, buttons and keys. In this, we would learn about the concept of objects and collection, and we would be discussing in quite detail. So, starting with the understanding, what is an object? Any information that is stored in a computer is referred as data. All interrelated data needs to be organized for easy retrieval and storage. Organized data is referred to as database. Software is used to retrieve and manipulate the data is called database management system. And there are various different data structures used to organize the data, and the most popularly used are the hierarchical, relational, network and object oriented. Tally object structure is a hierarchical in nature in which the objects are stored in a tree-like structure. Each node in the tree can be a tree in itself. The hierarchical structure uses the parent-child relationship to store repeating information. An object in tally is composed of methods and collections. Method is used to retrieve the data from the database. A collection is a group of objects. Each object in the collection can further have methods and collection. So what is an object? Tally object stores the data in a hierarchical structure. So that's a tree-like structure similar to your organization chart. Object is made up of methods and collections. Method is used to retrieve the data, and a collection is a group of objects. So let us just reframe the statement. Primary object stores data in a hierarchical structure. An object is made up of methods and sub-collections. Methods are used to retrieve the data. A collection is a group of objects. So this is one of the basic structure, object structure pictorial format. This is the primary object containing methods and a collection. This collection is a group of objects. Each object further contains methods and may also contain collection. Collection is again a group of object. Further, this object can contain more methods, and this hierarchy of the level will go down to the level where an object will only have methods. So a primary object is made up of methods and or sub-collection. The sub-collection is a group of sub-objects. This sub-object contains methods and sub-collection. This sub-collection is a group of sub-objects. This object can further contain methods and or collection. And we will go down in the hierarchy to a level where the objects will only have methods. Everything in TDL is an object. So in the initial introduction itself, as we had stated, we have TDL object and we have bifurcated it into interface objects and data objects. In the interface objects, we have already seen report, menu, button and table. Now we would be discussing about the data objects, which is further bifurcated into internal objects and TDL objects. And then we have in TDL objects static objects and dynamic objects. So what is a data object? Data is actually stored in the data object. These objects are classified as into two categories, the internal objects and the external objects. What are the internal objects? Internal objects are the objects that are provided by the platform. They are stored in the Tally database. Multiple instances of these internal objects can exist. In Tally ERP9, internal objects are of several types. For example, company, ledger, stock item, group, stock group, voucher type, unit of measure, voucher. All these are internal objects. Then we have user-defined or TDL objects. Here user is the developer is referred to as user-defined user here. All the objects which are defined by the developer or the user in TDL are referred as user-defined objects or TDL objects. User-defined objects can further be classified as static objects or dynamic objects. Static objects cannot be stored in Tally database. The data for the static object is a hard-coded list in the program and can be used only for display purposes. This means that you can use these kind of objects for selection purposes, but these are non-modifiable objects. Then we have the dynamic TDL objects, and these can be created from the data available in any of the data sources like the XML file, DLL files, or through any ODBC. For details on the dynamic TDL objects, please refer to our advanced objects and collections session. Object context. Until now, whatever report we have made or the interface that we have made use of the hard-coded values. Now, we will start bringing the backend database to our interface. Hence, each interface object exists in the context of an data object. An interface object either retrieves information from the data object or stores information onto the data object. Hence, any manipulation of the data has to be done through interface only. Whether it is adding, deleting or viewing, any kind of manipulation of the data objects will be done only through interface objects. The association of the interface object with the data object can be done at report, path, line and field. This means the association can be done at report, path, line and field. Again, as we said, can be done. This means it is not necessary that you have to do at all the interfaces. Depending upon the report requirement, you might have to give additional values or you might not have to give additional interface to data object association. However, depending upon the requirement, the associations can be done at report, path, line and field. You may have to do at all the interfaces, you may have to do at only one interface, requirement based. the interface object will be associated with the data object. The values and the methods or the formulas that you will now provide at any of your interface will be evaluated based on the data object context available at your interface. To understand the concept of an object association, we will take one example. Say there is an interface object report. It is associated to a data object ledger. Hence, at the subsequent interfaces, whatever value you provide will be evaluated based on your interface object report, that is ledger. So any of the objects that you provide, for any method or formula that you provide further, will be dependent on what data object you have provided at report level. This means the data object context, if not available at the current interface object, it inherits its data context from its parent. In case there is a data object specified at the interface, say a report is also having an object association and part is also having an object association, then the provided value will be evaluated based on the object available at part level. So whatever is available at the current context of the interface is what on basis of which the evaluations of the formulas and methods will take place. However, only if it is not available, it will go to the immediate parent for the data context. So generally, the child inherits the data context of the parent interface if the interface does not have an object association. Now, what is a collection? A collection is termed as group of objects. But object contains collections, right? So we'll come to this. It refers to a collection of 0 or more objects. The objects in the collections can be obtained from tally database or from the external sources, or could be from the TDL. In default TDL, many collections have been defined which are referred as internal collection. The collections created by the user are called user-defined collections. Objects in the collections follow the tally object structure. That is, each object of the collection can contain methods and collections and so on. Collections are classified in two types: simple collection and compound collection. Collection having multiple methods and collection are known as the compound collection. A collection which has only one single method and is repeatable in nature is known as simple collections, and simple collections cannot have sub-collections. Well, an example of a simple collection is the address. You provide an address at your ledger master for your company, right? So all this is your simple collection. Whereas rest all the collections that you see in your tally is a compound collection. You talk about ledger, you talk about stock item, or you talk about group, all are compound collections because it is having multiple methods and collections. So what is a collection? A collection is a group of objects or collections. This collection can be populated with the objects from the various data sources. Collection defined in default TDL are referred as internal collections. These are further classified as simple collection and compound collection. We will just make a reframing of this statement. A collection is a group of primary objects and or primary collections. Primary objects can further contain methods and sub-collection. So what exactly we are trying to clear out here is, this is one primary object which contains sub-collections. This collection is dependent on this object. This collection is dependent on this object. Hence, this collection can exist only if this object exists. A group of such objects together is also known as collection. So, what we can say is, the primary collection is a group of primary objects. Primary objects contains methods and sub-collections. Sub-collection is a group of primary objects, and this primary object contains methods and sub-collection. This sub-collection is a group of sub-objects. This sub-object further contains methods and sub-collections. So as the structure clearly states, an object is a group, or an object is made up of methods and sub-collection. Method is what is used to retrieve the data. A sub-collection is a group of sub-objects. 10 such primary objects together is making one primary collection. This is one basic hierarchy of a voucher. So when you open your voucher, this is at the first level. When you mention your stock items, that is the inventory entries, and where you provide your additional ledgers, it is ledger entries. So both are at level 2. User description is at level 3 and batch allocations is at level 3. Now batch allocation cannot exist without inventory entries, and inventory entries cannot exist without voucher object. So voucher object is a primary object which has a sub-collection inventory entries, which has which is a group of object inventory entry, singular entry, which contains some methods and object batch allocations. So batch allocations is also a sub-collection, and this batch allocations further contains object, sub-object, and that sub-object contains method. Voucher object contains ledger entries. This collection is a group of sub-object ledger entry, and this contains bill allocations and cost category allocations. Please remember that even if the customer activates cost center allocation but does not activate cost category allocation, yet as per the hierarchy, the customer does not view cost category allocation, but it exists in the hierarchy. Keep this point in mind. Even though the customer does not activate cost category but activates cost center, as per the voucher object hierarchy, cost center would be at the fourth level. So even if it does not exist, still at the backend it exists. For customer, he cannot view, he cannot see it, but it exists. So we have completed, we have understood what is a collection, and this is a syntax of a collection. We would be doing some hands-on practice on creating of collections, but before that we will just refer through few of our slides to understand what are the required attributes or the available attributes for the collection, and then we will see how we can connect these to our reports and go further. How do I create an internal collection or an internal objects collection? Collection definition with the collection name, type is the attribute, colon, here the object type, here the type attribute accepts an object type. In the previous session of variable, when we made use of type attribute, we wrote data type, right? However, when it comes to collection and we talk about the type attribute, it talks about object type. Absolutely right. Now, how would, as a developer, I know what are the internal object types available? Tally Developer is the tool that will help you. You come to the schema tab. The first basic list that you see here, these are the internal objects, internal primary objects available. So you can write type colon badge, type colon company, type colon group, type colon ledger, type colon stock item, type colon cost category, stock category, type colon stock group, type colon cost center. So these are the basic object types available in Tally. So you do not have to worry how will we know what is the object types available. The list of object types are made available in the Tally Developer schema. A collection of an internal object. So what does a collection contain? What is a collection? A collection is a group of objects. So there is an attribute which you can write object colon and you can give the list of the objects that this collection contains. You can provide that. So the object attribute is used to create a collection of the user-defined objects, and a collection can have the multiple collections or objects in it. In this example, as you can see, the objects are defined using the object definition, and the one object, so my collection name, object colon the list of objects available, object definition, left hand side of the object is methods. An object is made up of methods and collections. This is a hard-coded method, hard-coded value. So left hand side is the method, right hand side will be the value, left hand side method, and this is the value. Do you notice this? Do you notice this? The method names for both the objects are absolutely the same. However, only the value differs. So please ensure that the method names you provide are the same. So as we spoke about the object context, that the interface objects always exist in the context of a data object, and the data object can be connected at report form, report part, line and field, the association of the object is done as follows. At report level, we have an attribute object. At part level, we have attribute object and object EX. At line level, we have associating line. We have a repeat attribute at part level, and field level also we have an attribute called object. So object association is the process of linking an interface object with one or more data objects. Each interface object must be in the context of a data object. A programmer can associate interface object with any data object. If no data is specified, then the child will inherit the data object from its parent. Once an object is associated at the top level, the child level will inherit the data object. Unless at the child, developer has explicitly provided a separate data object. The report level object association. A report is normally associated with a data object which it gets from the previous report, and if it is not there, it will be associated with an anomalous object. The report attribute object can you can provide a object type and object identifier formula. We would be doing all this very shortly. We would be doing multiple codes on this to understand when to use what. So please remember, report level object association, an object can be associated. Part level object association, part inherits the object from the report or its parent part or its parent line by default. We'll come to this why we are speaking about line at the part level. However, you can make use of the object attribute to change the object context. This object attribute takes the name of the sub collection. So in case you want to make use of the object attribute at part level, report should also have an object available, and only primary objects can be associated at the report level. Part level object association is done through the sub collection, the supplier collection, the seek type, keyword, that is the first, second, and if required, the condition. We would be writing codes, various multiple codes on this. So we do not have to, we will do a detailed discussion of each of these attributes. Object EX attribute specification at the part definition provides the ease of using method formula syntax while specifying the object association. So we would be learning about method formula syntax also. So object EX allows us to connect another primary object to our part level. Report level, we can have one primary object. Part level, when you write object, it links itself to the parent report and tries to fetch an value from the sub collection of that object. By using object EX, a second primary object, a completely new primary object can be associated. In case you want to associate it at line level, you have to make use of the repeat attribute at part definition. Well, we will be doing this also very shortly. And field level association. By default, field inherits everything from its parent line and feeds and the reports and everything, and this cannot be overridden. However, if field also allows object specification syntax, the association is specified acts as the secondary context of the object. So during any formula evaluation, if the formula fails in the context of primary object, then the second order object is done. So what happens is, basically field level, whatever formulas and method formula syntax we provide, the evaluation of the value will happen on the parent line or the part. But in case that evaluation fails, then the secondary object specified at the field level will be looked upon. These are few examples which you can refer to. So collection acts as a bridge between the interface objects and the data sources. The data sources could be internal, TDL object, and external. When the interface object report has to get connected to the data source, it is via an object. However, when a line object has to be associated to the data source, it is through a collection, that is a group of objects. So that's how the data source gets connected. Now once we have connected, associated an object, we will have to retrieve the values from there. So method is used to retrieve the data from the object. The first presentation that we spoke about, object stores data in a hierarchical structure. The object is made up of methods and collections. Method is used to retrieve the data and collection is a group of objects. So we're discussing about the methods. Each piece of information stored in the data object can be retrieved by using a method. A method either performs some operations on the object or retrieves a value from it. To retrieve the value from the database, the storage name is prefixed with the dollar symbol, as you can see in the slide. TDL provides a predefined set of methods and that allows the user to create new methods also. So again, methods are also classified as internal or external, depending whether it is from the internal method or from a new method created by the developer. The method can be accessed in the following ways. One, if it is an internal, if it is from the current object, all you have to do is dollar and you need to provide the method name. In case it is by reference, where the user is not in the context of the object directly or it is in the different object context, then the user can make use of the reference to fetch the value from the different object. In cases where the user is not in the object context or in a different object context, then the values can be used by index. That is, you provide the method name, the collection name, and since it's a collection, every object is identified by its number that starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the seed type can be any object number. So you can provide 1, 2, 3, or you can provide first and last as keywords. And then we have the direct accessing data from any object. Well, the above three is related to the current object context. However, the method formula syntax allows direct access to any object method, including the sub collection to any level with a dotted notation. something similar to what we have for our directories that we have. We can access directory, when you open your command prompt and you write cd dot dot create a cd, and you give the entire path to whatever folder path you want. So this dotted notation is similar to what you give for the command prompts. The values from any object anywhere can be accessed without making the object as the current object. As we saw when we are at an interface, it is connected to one particular object. So that object context to that interface is always available. In case you want to value from a different object, then you have to first associate that object to the interface, and then you can make a change. However, direct accessing data from any object or the method formula syntax helps us to fetch their value from a separate object without even changing the object context of the current interface. This syntax is introduced to support the accessors out of the scope to the primary objects and its sub-object to any level. It is not mandated that you get value only from the ledger object, or you only get value from the first level of the ledger. You can go to ledger having some prime bill allocations. So you can go to any level to get the values. So this is an example of a voucher object which contains methods and collections. Voucher object has two methods. Do voucher object have multiple methods? But for this example, we have taken simple things, basic things. So voucher has a date and a party name. So if you want to call the date from the voucher, the method name is $date. You want to call the party name, it's $party name, which has a sub collection inventory entries, and we've taken example of two objects from that collection. So if you want a value from that, you can say $stock item name and $build quantity. Each inventory object further has got sub collections, batch allocations. Now there's a hierarchy. In batch allocations, object will have methods, and you can fetch the values. So as in the screen you can see, if you directly want to call value from the voucher, you can do $party ledger name. However, if you have to call value from the inventory object, you will first have to make use of a function. You will have to make use of a function $collection field $stock item first inventory entry. So to retrieve value of the first inventory entry. And if you want to get it from the batch, and since batch is not directly under voucher, first the value from the batch has to be added to the inventory object, and then it has to be called at the voucher object using a function. And if you want to filter, you will have to write another function to filter it. And if you are trying to call the stock item name, by reference you can use $party legend, $parent. Parent is the stock group, and stock item, and you say colon $stock item name, which means from my object stock item master, for the current stock item that is getting displayed in my voucher, get its stock group, that is the $parent. This is what the referencing means. Now we will write a small report to get our output. So before we get anything else, it says create a report to display name, stock group and closing balance of the stock item. So what we will do is, first we will open Tally Developer. we will go back to our project and we will add a new text file. This text file we will say display stock item details. Now we will be start giving some meaningful names to our files. Gradually we will get into the habit of doing that. This has to be added to my main file, so include .txt. Now we will add right now what we did is we have added everything directly here. Now what we will do is, in Tally, as you have seen, we have a display menu, and inside the display menu we have all things, right? So here also we will add a key item before at loc quit. We will say we'll give our chapter title only, object and collection, and we can give a shortcut to it. Now all this time we were saying display because we wanted to directly display the report, right? But now we will say menu because we want to show a menu, and we will just align this properly. And what is the menu name? And we'll give the menu name as object and collection. So this is our menu. So open square bracket, menu colon menu name. Now here we don't have to say add because it's a new menu itself, so it is obviously going to add. So we'll say add. It's a key item. What is the item name? So we'll start with the first, say display stock item details. Well, when you see this, it is very huge text, and this place, as you have seen, is very small. So we can just cut short this to stk item, and display will make it disp, and details we will cut short to dtls. S is the shortcut key that we want. What do you want to do? Display what? stk item details, and this would be the report that we will create in our display stock item details. Let us just open our Tally. We will open a company. We'll just create the stock item by this name because we do not have any data. So stock item, create ballpoint, number of units is numbers, and we'll just give some opening balance with the rate of say 7 rupees, or say probably 4 rupees. And we'll just pass few items here. Purchase. We do not have ledgers, so we'll create some ledgers also on the fly.
ball pint. Say we're purchasing another 1500 at the rate of 4 itself, so we'll have 3000, and we're purchasing more ball pint 500 at the rate of 6 rupees. And we're going to sell few. We'll change the date. We'll sell, say, 1700 at the rate of 15, and we do some sales. So when you go to stock summary, you can see we're getting a quantity, closing quantity, and value and rate. Okay, now we will create our report in this menu title. So the basic, first we will create the basic hierarchy of a report. So title will be stock item details. And it will contain a form, and we'll give STK item details form. And form definition for part, form contains part, okay, part. Now how we need three details. We need three information. We need the item name, the stock group, and its closing balance. So we can either display it in 3 different fields, or we can display it in 3 different lines as we want. So what we would do is, right now the screen is showing on 3 different fields and just the values. We'll make it a little better. We'll display it on 3 different lines, that is vertically the item name, the stock group, and its closing balance, along with the title to each of them. So on the left hand side would be the title, and the right hand side would be the value. So we will have a line STK item name, STK item group, and STK item closing balance. So we will have 3 lines. So first line. Now how many fields would we need? We would require 2 fields. Why 2 fields? One to display the text stock item name, and the second text to display the name. So we need 2 fields. So we need 2 fields. One would be displaying the stock item name text, and one would be displaying the stock item name. Well, if you have noticed, there are certain fields which are with the colon, and in Tally they are just indented just below each other. If you have noticed that, well, that's what we have to do here. We will use the same kind of thing here, and what we have used is a template field called medium prompt. So we have a list of template fields available here in default Tally. As you can see, there's a huge list of template fields. So you can just refer to flds fields.tdl. So we'll use the same across our report. Now the definition of this field isn't required because it exists, but we would like to change the behavior of this right? So what do we do for this? How do we do that? If you remember, in session 1 we spoke about something called as local. We can make use of local colon field name set as stock item name. And we have a field definition to create, field colon STK item name. If you are noticing, I am copy pasting the definition names from the declaration so that there is no spelling errors. Please ensure that we do that, because if there is a spelling error, it would be very difficult for us to track down the spelling errors, right? So this should help us. And we provide a set as here, and right now we'll again just hard code the value saying stock item name. Now we create a second line, again line name, line colon line definition, field. Now if you have noticed in Tally everything is just below each other, so here also we will have medium prompt and the field name STK item grp. Locally we will modify the set as for the field medium prompt. We aren't defining this field as this field is available in default. Again we are just giving stock group name and we'll define the field. Again we give a set as, and right now we'll just hard code the value here also, stock group name, and we'll create the third line, and the third line is STK's item CL bal, that's for the closing balance. Again we need a field medium prompt and local colon field colon medium prompt colon set as, and it is closing balance. Now whatever we have used in the initial stages we learned in the first few sessions of our TDL, the session 1, we would be making use of that. So just tune into it very well. Right. So right now we just hard coded all the values. So let us just create the field and set closing balance. Okay, right now everything is hard coded, and we say end of file. Right now all the fields are hard coded. So let us just see how the output looks in our Tally screen. F12 product and features, F4 accept. Yeah, so this is the look of your code. Looks pretty clean, isn't it? The one that we see here and one we see here is a little different, but looks better. Now comes the important part. association. What do we want? We want a value of an object. So at report level, you can specify object. Which object is this? Stock item. And which stock item? Ball. Now mere association isn't going to give you the value. In this object we have various methods available. How do we know what methods are available? The entire list to this is available here, and we have ensured that we give the naming conventions as such as, if you are looking for the stock item name, the method name is name. It is that simple. So here we have hard-coded stock item name. So we will just change this to $name. So we'll do it one by one. So we'll refresh this, and the output we're getting ballpoint. Now we want the stock group name. So what do we have for stock group name? Stock group is as a relation with the parent. So we can say $parent, and again refresh. It's under primary. Yes, it is under primary. We've given it under primary. So we'll change this. So we are ensuring that we'll create a new stock group called stationery, and stock item, alter, ballpoint, change this to stationery. Now see, it's changing. So you see it is referencing, and this method name for closing balance is $closing balance. So we get the outputs. So was it simple enough? Well, we can do another thing is we can provide width to each field. We can say 50, that's 50 characters, and we can simply copy paste the width to each field. By default, the data type of the field is type string. However, this is supposed to be type quantity. So we can provide here type quantity. You can specify it at every level you want. Type string. So still the output wouldn't change, only the width has increased, so that would change. Simple. So all we did is, at reports level, we provided an object association because you wanted a value of a single stock item. The value we required was of a single stock item. Hence, at reports level, we gave object colon stock item colon the ballpoint. Okay. Now, this is the object type and this is the object identifier. You need of the stock item, but which stock item? So we have specified ballpoint. So we have been very specific to this. Right now we haven't made it interactive. Gradually we'll make it interactive, but today, right now, we have made it a hard-coded value. So keep this code ready because we would be using this same code in the future references, and we'll make the same report interactive. So report definition has a form with the title, and the regular hierarchy has been created. Report contains form contains part. Part we have provided 3 lines. Each line we have 2 fields. One is for the label, which we have used as medium prompt. This is a field template available in default, which says align prompt. So that colon that you see is coming by default. This colon that you see is coming by default, and the field width and details are provided by default. So the only thing that we have changed here is the setas of this field, and at each field level we have provided the method name, $name, $parent, and $closing balance. How do you know what are the methods available in stock item object? Go to schema tab, and as you can see, this is a huge list of stock items. So by reading the method name itself, you will come to know what methods are available, right? So now going to the next slide. Create a report to display the batch name, opening balance, and opening rate of the stock item ballpoint. So we already have created stock item report. Now to this same report, now we are gradually going to make use of those components and the attribute modifiers that we have learned in session 1. So for the same stock item, you need the batches. So first thing that we will have to do is F11 inventory features. We will activate the batches for our stock item. Going to inventory info, stock item, alter, and maintain batches, yes. And here we have primary batch. We'll change this to batch 1, quantity of 500. Then batch 2, say 750, and batch 3 250. So we have made the batches, and we'll just modify few vouchers so that we have the details as per our need. Right now batches aren't being mentioned here, so we'll just add few values to our batches, and here we'll give a new batch. And when we have sold, we will change the batch name. Say we have from batch 3. Right, so we have it done. So we have the batches for this stock item. Now we'll again go to the main file, create a new text file, and we will say display batch details .txt. We will include this file into our main file. Here key item display batch details D display what? Report name stk batch details, and this is the name of a report, so now we need a report definition. Now batch allocation, batch is under stock item. So one thing we can do is we can write the entire code that we wrote for display stock item details as it is, or we can say is use this report. So what will happen is the entire report that we have for this will be called here as it is. Then gradually whatever changes we want we can make. Right now the report does not have any change because we are just use the report as it is. Now what we will do is local to the form. What is the form name here? We will add a part for the batch details. Here we have STK item details, right? Now we will say STK batch details. And we'll create a part. Now what will be the current object context for this part? Whatever it is there in this report, because the object context hasn't been changed. So what will happen is, whatever object context we have today, right now for this report is stock item. It is stock item. Now batch allocation is below the report. It's below this report. It is below the object stock item. So what we will require to do is, we will require to change the object context from stock item to batch allocations. So batch allocations is the name of the collection. So here, as you can see, the one in the green books is the name of the collection. We will right now call for the first batch without any condition. So you can say this C type first. Now this part will have line. Right now we will just create one line. So we want to see whether we are getting the values or not. So line STK batch name. Now define this line. Line now line will have two fields. Why two fields? One is the medium prompt. We also have something called as short prompt. You can make use of that. Local colon field colon short prompt set as batch name, and the field definition set as. Now how do we search for method name? So under batch allocations we will have object item batch allocations. In this we have the method name, batch name or name. Both are allowed, so we will use name. We can remember this very well, right? So we'll go here, F12T, F4, accept. We aren't getting any name here. So what could be the problem here? We can change this method name and check. And we get the method batch. So we have the method name batch name. So we provide your dollar name batch name. Now we go to tally F12 TDL F4, we refresh and we get the batch name. So this is the method name that we have. Similarly, say if you want for opening balance or say for closing balance, you can say here itself you can say closing balance F12 TDL F4. Yeah, so you get the closing balance. Then you say opening balance F12 TF4 500. See this? And if you want it to be aligned to each other, you can make it medium prompt. You can make this also medium prompt. See, this is the opening balance for the first batch. Similarly, you can give your various seat types here. Second, we say last, C250, give the batch name. Right, so you can provide the details like this, and the object context for the part changes. Now we have to create a report to display the name of the stock group and closing balance of the stock item ballpoint on the top. That's at the top of the screen, and at the bottom of the screen we need name, group and closing balance of a ledger called Ram and Company. So what we'll do is we'll create a ledger Ram and Company first. Accounts info, ledgers, create Ram and Company. It would be under sundry creditors. Maintain balances bill by bill, yes. And what we will do is we'll just change the sales entry from cash to Ram and Company, so we get the required balance. So now we have the data whatever we require. Now at report level we cannot provide object. Why? Because we have two different objects to connect to. We have on the top we want stock item, and at the bottom we want ledger. So first what we will do is, first we'll create a new text file, and we'll just give a name, display in data. That's the file name we'll give. Simply we're just trying to display the name. Truly speaking, right now the data that the reports that we are creating might not make much logical sense, but on the long run these are just the samples that we are creating, and this will be helpful in the future for the next sessions. So now in the main field we will just add the key item, display data, that's the report name. So now first we will just create the hierarchy. We need a form, a form definition. Now how many parts do we need? We need two parts. One is at the top part and one is at the bottom. So we need two parts. One is at the top and one is at the bottom. Top part we will call it as STK item display, and the below one we'll call as ledger display. We'll just validate whether it exists, right? Does you see the definitions does not exist. We'll give the title here, the report displaying data. So first we will complete with the top part. Now we will have just one line and we'll display all the data in just one go. Line has 3 fields. Now since there are you can create new fields also if you want, well, but if you see we have already created the required fields, right? If this report you refer, the fields that we have are already created, right? We need the stock item name, the stock group, and the closing balance, right? We already have the fields. So what we will do is we can simply just recall the same fields. So you don't have to define these fields again. Now we need a bottom part. This is the fun part of TDL is you don't have to create everything all the time. You can make use of the available definitions to just reuse them. Now what we will do here is we'll just create a new line here. And we'll reuse the same fields. All we want is the data output, right? Fields are ready. So why to create new fields? If you want, you can create. It's not mandatory. We can simply call the fields again to reuse them. Now we'll refresh Tally. 12 TDL F4. So right now everything is blank because we haven't given any data context. If you want to give a data context of a primary object to a part, then the attribute is object ex. We aren't giving at the reports level for one simple reason, because we have two parts and both the parts have different objects. So it does not make any sense to have an object attribute at reports level. So at part level we can give the attribute object ex, open round bracket, object stock item, comma, which stock item. So right now we'll just hard code ball point is my stock item, close and dot. This is a part of the syntax object ex colon open round bracket stock item comma the stock item name close round bracket dot. Now see the change in the code. Do you see at the top we have the data that we need? Now at this part level we will write object ex. Now here what is the object? Ledger comma Ram and company dot. Please note this dot is mandate. If you miss this dot, you will not get the output. Now we just refresh. Arey, there also we got the data. Here also we got the data. So Tally is we tried to make this TDL as simple as possible. The method name that we have provided at this level, based on the object context associated at the interface. So for this part object context is stock item, so this field is revealing the stock item name, but for this part the object context is ledger, so the field dollar name is evaluated to the ledger object. So remember the statement we gave that the method and the formula gets evaluated based on the object context available at the interface object. So this is what it is doing. Based on the interface object made available, it is displaying the data output. Clear? So this is how we can make use of object ex. Right now we are doing everything in bits and parts. But gradually when we come through some interactive, when we come to the session of writing the reports, we will start writing some more interactive reports to make these samples more meaningful. And what else? So now we can have a list of stock items. We can create a report to show the list of stock items. So what we will do is we'll just create few stock items. So right now we have just one stock item. We'll create few more, and the name of stock item, we have created ballpoint. We can create a motherboard. And we'll skip the details of the categories. We'll just have the units of numbers. Motherboard, pens. We'll take it under stationery, numbers. We'll give some opening quantities, say 500 numbers. Motherboard, say, is 8,900 rupees, and pen stationery, well, we already have ballpoints, so we'll take another. We say keyboard. Scale. Four items are sufficient enough. So now we'll try to list this. Again, going to the main file, we'll create a new text file, and we'll say list of stock item. Include .txt key item, list of stock item, L, display the report, creating the report. Now again we will just simply create report from part line field, and then we will move to the clear understanding of how to do that. So report contains title, list of stock items, form, line. Now how many lines do we need? 4, because we have 4 stock items. 5, because we have 5 stock items. Can you restrict your customer on number of lines that you need? No, you cannot, right? So, and we do not even know how many objects of the stock item the client might create. So we don't even know. If we knew that he cannot create more than 10,000, we would have given a stop to we would have created 10,000 lines, but we don't know. Fine, so we'll just keep some space here. Line, stock item, field, and we give a syntax, and we'll just hard code the value item name, and we'll just see whether at least we are getting this much into our screen. F12 TDL F4. Yes, at least we are getting this. Now how many lines do we need for number of stock items? We do not know. Depends how many items the stock customer creates, right? How many stock items the customer would create, we do not know. We would not have an idea of that. So what we can do is,
we can associate a collection, because one, we don't need object attribute. Absolutely not, because when you say object, it is just one single object. But here we have multiple stock items. So one, we don't need an object context, so nowhere object. Two, we don't know how many lines, but we know that depending upon the number of objects available in my stock item, I want that. So how do I collect those number of stock items under one roof? That is through a group of objects is called collection. When we say stock item, now collection requires type. What type of object it is? Stock item type. So now the collection is ready. Now the collection is ready for use. Now we have to associate this collection to this line, because then only we will get the count how many stock items. So repeat line name, because a part can have multiple lines, on the collection. So repeating line on the collection. Now whenever you are repeating a line on a collection, if you have noticed, always there is a place where you can, you need to scroll off. Well, this does not happen automatically. With every repeat you will have to write scroll colon vertical. With every repeat you will have to write scroll colon vertical. Then only it will scroll off your screen, else it will not scroll off your screen. Right? Now we'll just see what is the output of our code. F12 product and features, F4 accept, okay, there is a collection already existing, so we'll just change this to stock items. So you see, the errors are always identified by TDL and it provides you the errors. But it is showing item name, item name, item name. It is not showing the name of the item, it is just showing the text item name. So here now we need to provide the method name $name. Now escape F12T, F4, Control A, and now see, now we get the names. So this is simple. Similarly, you can add multiple fields to get multiple values. Right now we have just listed for the stock item name. Simple. Now until now whatever tryouts we did were with the internal objects. Now we will create one report to display the name of the agent and commission, that is also using the hard-coded objects. So we will just go to main, agent commission, or we'll say agent list,
add it to the main file. This is only the hard-coded values that we are trying to create, so it's absolutely okay. Agent list .txt, key item, agent list, a display agent lists. Report. Again, this is going to be absolutely the same thing that we have done. Report has a title and a form, and a form contains part contains line will contain field, and commission. Right now we'll just hard code the values again, so we know whether at least we have this as our output or not. Agent name and commission. Okay, so we at least have this. Now what we can do is, how many, first we will create hard-coded objects. So collection, we did it all from the internal one. Now we will do from the hard-coded object. So agent list is the name of the collection, which contains objects, and we'll give the name of the objects to as agent 1 comma agent 2. Then in the object colon agent 1, first we'll give the name will be say Krishna, and commission would be say 9, giving 9% commission. Then we create object 2. Name again, these are the method names, so we will not change this. Keshav, and commission say 5%, right? And now this collection should get associated with our line because we want a list, and the only attribute that helps me to do is a repeat attribute at my field level. This agent list is the line name and this agent list is the collection name. So I'll just prefix it with col and ln, so it is easy for us to identify what is what. Anyways, code TDL understands, it's just for our understanding that we're changing the name. And with every repeat we require a scroll. We should get 2. Yes, we're getting. Now, time to change the status. We'll say dollar name and dollar commission. You see, every special symbol has a special meaning. Remember the session 1 symbols and prefixes. This is the reason why we have denied using the utility of some special symbols. So now you can see the output. Now, currently, if you noticed, we did not have that percentage sign. Remember, there was an attribute called format for field. Now, for type number, format, show me the percentage. That's the format, so it will F4. See, gradually we are trying to make more and more effective and better report. So this is how we can create a hard-coded object. Clear? The hard-coded objects report is now ready, right? So this is how you can make use of format attribute. Well, this format percentage would work only if a data type is specified at the field level. Only if the data type is specified, you can provide percentage. Now, talking about changing the object contexts, relative object methods access using the context changing functions. We can make use of functions like $report object to connect any method to the object context of the report. Owner's context, $owner function can be used to go to up in the hierarchy of the data object to fetch a value. Or you can make use of $base owner function to directly call a value or a method from the primary object. So these are some method formula syntax. In the syntax, it's dollar, absolute or relative path, dot sub object specification, dot sub object specification, dot method. So depending what method value you want, the dotted notation will continue. When it comes to absolute specification, or we can also say directly calling a different primary object, it opens with a rounded bracket, object type, that could be stock item, ledger, stock group, comma, object identifier formula. In the current reports, we have hard-coded this value. Well, when we start writing reports, we will see how we can write a object identifier formula. But an object identifier formula should be a formula that will evaluate to the name of the object. For relative specifications traversing up in the ladder, each dot denotes current object. So single dot current object, double dot parent object, triple dot grandparent object. So similarly, if you give 4 dots, it will move 4 ladders up the specification. In case you want to go directly to the base owner, you can give dot from the current level, and you can go upwards in the ladder. And if you know that it is the base owner, you can directly provide empty brackets. Please note, empty brackets is without the space. It's open parenthesis, close parenthesis without a space. So that will identify that you need to go to the base owner. And the sub-object specification can be the collection name, open square bracket. In this square bracket, you need to provide an index number, comma separation with a condition. Condition is not mandatory. So in case you don't have a condition, you can provide an open square bracket, an index, and a closed square bracket.
However, if you have to provide a condition, it is mandatory to provide an index number. So this is an example. The previous example, we made use of functions for traversing or fetching value from the base level to voucher. However, if you can see in this example, we haven't gone to the base level. We haven't made use of the functions. We have directly made use of the dotted notations to fetch the values. For example, the current object context is voucher, dollar. I need stock item. Stock item is available at inventory entries. Which inventory entries? The first inventory entry. So the value will be fetched from here. Now when I say dollar, need batch name. Where is the batch name? Is it available in voucher? No. It is available at batch allocations. Which batch allocation? The first batch allocation. Is batch allocation directly under voucher? No, it is under inventories entries. Which inventory entry? The first inventory entry. Is inventory entries directly under voucher? Yes. So, from the first inventory entry, it goes to the batch allocations. The first batch allocation, it retrieves its batch name. So, that's how the direct access or the method formula syntax works. These are some examples to it. There are some references, dollar date, dollar dot dot date. In case the context is a batch allocation and you need a value from your voucher, you can write dollar 3 dots. 3 dots why? 1 for batch allocation, 2 for inventories and 3 for voucher. And as you know that dollar date is available at the base, you can also provide dollar open parenthesis, close parenthesis, dot, date. In case you want to fetch the stock item name, you can say dollar dot dot stock item, 1 dot for batch and second dot for inventory. What are the rules and operators for method formula syntax? Only the method name is mandatory. Rest all that you see in the syntax is optional, as only if you require you need to specify that. If you are specifying a collection, a sub-collection, then if index is not specified, it is assumed to be 1. If you provide a condition, then mentioning an index is mandatory. However, mentioning the condition is not mandatory. It is optional. So, only if you need to provide, and if you are providing condition, then you need to provide the index number, even if it is 1. The 1 always starts from top to bottom. However, if you want to give a bottom top search, you can give a -1. That's a reversal search that you can provide. There are 2 search keywords available for the index. First and last can be used for indexing. Object identifier formula can be any formula which evaluates to the name of the master. So if you have noticed, we provide object type and object identifier. What is the unique thing in every ledger? The ledger name. What is the unique thing in every stock item? Stock item name. What is the unique thing in every group? Its name. So any object identifier formula should evaluate to the name of its master, right? And the operators are that we have provided: dot for the relative access, square brackets for index operators of the collection, and comma for the expression separator. So we can now write a report, because now we know how to repeat a line, how to create a collection. So we will have multiple columns, and each column will have these values. And we'll make well, this report does not have a specific meaning, but to ensure that whatever we have learned in the method, form and syntax, we can learn that, is why we will be creating this report, right? So let us just create one. Go to Tally Developer. We'll create a new file. Since we're going to get all the voucher details, we'll say voucher details. Include voucher details.txt. Key item, voucher details, display voucher details. This goes for a report name. Here we will create a report. Voucher details, title, voucher book. We have a form. We have a part. Now we will have two lines. Why do we need two lines? Why do we need two lines? We'll have two lines. One for the title and second for the body. So we'll say voucher details title and voucher details body. So we'll have now two lines. Now we'll say line colon voucher details, and we'll have the fields. Now the fields that we need, obviously the number of fields that we need for the body and the title has to be same, right? The number of fields that we need for the title and the body has to be same. So what we'll do is we will just change one. We will just provide field to one of the line, and we will download, and we will locally change for the other line. So definitely what will happen is better is we have one more line for the body, and we have fields. So what are fields we need? We need VCH date, we need date, we need VCH week type, then we need VCH V number, that's for the number field, then we need VCH party ledger name, then we need party OP bal, and from ledger we need party first bill OP. Now all these fields we will locally change for the title line. So we'll just have the field defined, VCH date, then field. Now we can make spelling mistakes, so we'll prefer to copy paste the field names here. Field party ledger name, party OP band,
party's first opening bill value. Right, and definitely we need a set as. So we'll provide, right now we'll just hard code all the values. So we'll say set as date, set as type, voucher type, set as voucher number, set as party ledger name, set as party opening balance, and parties first bill opening balance. Okay, so right now we just hard coding all the values. Now we have two lines. Now this line should have at least one field. So what we will do is we'll say use the body line. So now the skeleton of our report is ready. Let us see whether we have done everything. It should be fair enough. At least we should give some text output. So let us just refresh tally. It's F12 product features, F4 enter accent, voucher details ready, enter, and yes, we are getting two lines, date, voucher type, number. Yes, so we are getting something, right? Now coming to the details, what do we need? We need voucher details. Now to get voucher details, since it's a group of vouchers we need a collection. So we say collection, and we'll give VCH detail. That is my collection name. And what would be the type of object here? Voucher. Vouchers is a collection and the singular is voucher. Okay. Now we need to repeat the line on this collection, then only we'll have some idea on what is happening. So the repeat will happen at part level. Now which line will we repeat? T or B? Voucher details T or voucher details B? It will be voucher details B on collection. If you do on T, what will happen is the body will come at the top and the title will come at the bottom. So sequencing, the way you write is how the lines will come from top to bottom. And definitely with every repeat, a scroll vertical is important. Now let us see how is this behaving. So first we'll check our statistics. We have how many? We have 2 vouchers. So let us just validate how many vouchers we have. We have 2 vouchers, 1 purchase and 1 sales. So we'll do one thing. We will create one more voucher for our purchase. And we'll buy keyboard at the rate of So now in all we have 3 vouchers. So we will go to our code. F12 product and features, F4 refreshed, and voucher details. You see this, we are having one line here and we are having 3 lines here. One line is the title line and other lines are the data lines. Now for voucher, so we go to voucher object in the schema, and as I told you, more or less Sally, the naming conventions or methods are as you speak. So just check, do we have date? Yes, we have a date, so we'll simply say $date. Now let's refresh and check. F12 product features, F4 refreshed. Oh, here I did get the title, but what happened to my title line? The date text itself is gone. Why? Because we have said use the body line. Body line is having data object, so it is displaying this data. But for this line, we will have to locally call the field VCHD date and change it set as the text we need as voucher date. Now look at this. F4 control A, escape, voucher details. Yeah, see the title we have voucher date and here we have the dates. Now similarly we'll check for voucher type name. So voucher type. So what do we have here for voucher type? So there is a voucher type name. So $voucher type name. And similarly locally for all the fields we will have to change their title in the title line. Local field VCHV type set as voucher type name, then local field VCHV number set as voucher number, local field set as party name, local field party opening balance. Well, our party does not have an opening balance, so we will do that modification also. Field name set as first will OP value. Okay, and now we will do the alignment. So doesn't it look neater? Right, so we'll just refresh this to see what text we are getting. Right, so we got the text and we see the purchase and the now we go for this. Here we can see we have a method called voucher number, so we'll type here. Okay, we have already typed the text as voucher number, so $voucher number. For party ledger name we can do $party ledger name. Let us check, do we have party ledger name? Yeah, we have party ledger name. Now voucher, now party opening balance. So First we will just refresh this. Okay, voucher number. Now there are two problems. One, there is no alignment between the the purchase, and then immediately I'm getting one, and then sales is a small text, and again. So what we will have to do is each field should have its width. So we give width, date, maximum space, that width of a date that would require would be 2 plus 2 plus 4, so that's 8, and to 10, so we give maximum space 12. Voucher type name, we can give width as say 20. Then voucher type number, we can give width as say 7. For party name, we can give width as say 45. Then party opening balance would be an amount, and as per that 7 digit goes to crore, and we can give around max 50. And this also we can give width 15. Now let us refresh and check. So now do we see? Okay, so there's a problem with the party name. We aren't getting party name. Why we aren't getting the party name? Voucher number, voucher type name, and date are 3 basic elements of a voucher. Hence, by default, the value at the TDL, internal TDL level, the values are fetched. However, party ledger name is not a mandatory method name. So, by default, it is not fetched. So, what you will require to do is, at the collection level, there is an attribute called fetch, which you will have to provide. So, just to ensure that we don't miss on anything, we can provide whatever we need. So, we say date, voucher type name, voucher number, and party ledger name. Generally, any changes that you make at collection level, it is suggested that you quit tally and restart. Your tally. Voila, we get the party name. Now we need party's opening balance. Now dollar opening balance will give me the opening balance of the party, but is the party's opening balance available at voucher? No. Then where is it available? It is available at ledger. But for which ledger do you want? We want it for this party ledger. Right? Currently we haven't given any opening balance, so we'll just give that change. Accounts info, ledgers, alter, cash we will give as say 45 lakhs, and for this we will give some opening balance, say 65,000, and we will have the chance to give the opening bill names, and we'll give as 45,000, and again on 31st 3 bill 2 the rest amount. So now let us just go back to our, okay, now we will refresh this. F4 accept voucher details, and we are getting our values. Now we need the first bill's opening balance. Okay, so it's a method $. What do you need? opening balance. Whose opening balance? Bill allocation. But it's a collection. So, is bill allocations available? The opening bill allocation value available at voucher? No. Where is it available? Is it a primary one? No. It is available at ledger. But ledger is a primary object. So open round bracket. Ledger. But then we will have multiple ledgers. Which ledger you want? This one. Dot. The dollar will be at the beginning for this method. Now this dollars, it's an object identifier formula from this value. And now when we refresh tally, we are getting the values. See, now right now we are getting 45,000 because we have asked for the first bill. Now if you want for the second bill, you can say 2. FTFR. You see this? We got this difference. So this is a rough combinations, permutations and combinations we have used for our report and getting the opening balances and method formulae syntaxes. These are the various method formulae syntax. Well, instead of this, we could have also written as set as dollar opening ledger, comma dollar party ledger name dot opening balance. Both of this is correct. This is by reference and this is by method formula syntax. Well, to get a value from the sub object, method formula syntax is the only way you can get the values, right? Now we will just do a little beautification that we need for our code. Right now the titles and just things are going hayway. So we go to the title line. Shouldn't all the title be bold up? So we say local colon field, and what we can do is locally for all the fields one by one you can keep changing the style. However, if you have 45 fields, it is highly impossible that you keep writing every field name to change the style. So there is a keyword called default, which means all fields and you say style, and we have list of styles created, Control J style, and you can pick whichever you want. So we'll pick normal bold. Then let's refresh and see. Then what else? By now rest of the fields, some might be amount, some might be this, some might be that. So what do we do for this? We can locally set, we want to ensure that there is always no data loss at this level. So default type would be string. Please note this is only the beautification that we are doing. Field colon default, all the titles should be aligned center. Can you see there's a crunch over here? Right? There's a crunch here. I mean, the voucher number is very crunched. Now you don't want to increase the field width, but it is okay if that text gets broken up into multiple lines. So what we can do is, we can again write local field default line. So the text of the field should break into how many lines is what you were supposed to mention. If I say 2 lines, it will break to 2 lines. If I say 3 lines, it will break to 3 lines. However, I just wanted to adjust the text as and however the lines get viewed. So depending on how the line is what I want. So what we will do is, we'll say line 0. Now let us just refresh this. F12 TDL F4. Yeah, see this voucher number, it's automatically broken up into 3 lines. If you want, you can specify not more than 2 lines. So F12 TDL F4, and now you will see it's broken up into 2 lines. Now because the line is breaking up into 3 lines, the text below that is not seen. Hence we provide 0 so that we do not face such problems. You can also provide a border to this. Control J. Now which border do you want? Say I want thin top, I want thick top, bottom will also do. Absolutely okay. So thick top, bottom. F12 TD F4. And now to each field you can provide border to right. Border thin white. Now this border is created already. So thin right. You see this, we have this border, and simply copy paste this to all the other fields. Now we don't have to write anything at the title line because anyways we are using this field there. So this is the whole idea behind using the field and locally changing things, that whatever the contents we need, whatever the attributes we need at this level, we do have that. And here we are. Right, we can see that there's a break and all those things. So for that, at part level, we can write common borders. Yes. And our work is done. So you can beautify the code as in where you need, and you can keep improvising. So this is how we have improvised our code. Moving further in the session, talking about the collection capabilities in TDL. After understanding the concept of objects, collections, methods and object association, we will now understand the concept of processing the data artifact collection. So we have already seen how we can populate the collection from the default internal object. We have seen that, right? So now based on that, we have some other capabilities for processing the collection in a better way. That is union, filtering, sorting, searching. Then there are certain advanced capabilities like extraction, aggregation, usage as table, integration capabilities using HTTP, XML collection, dynamic object support, collection capabilities for remote. Most of these advanced capabilities are covered in the advanced session of objects and collections. So please do refer for further details on them. We would be covering the union capabilities.
the basic capabilities of the collection. Starting with the union. Now, what is a union? A collection can be created as a combination of multiple collections. So, a collection can hold multiple collections. The total number of objects in the final collection or the resultant collection is the sum of objects of all the collections holded by that collection. This is known as union. It is an eighth standard mathematics that we have learned, intersection and union. So this union capability is similar to that. As you can see, we have collection definition, which has an attribute collection, and it's a comma separated list of collections. So you can have collection 1 of one type, collection 2 of second type, and under this you can write collection 1 comma collection 2, and becomes a union of collection. Right? So the attribute collection is used at this level. Well, you can write this code on your own and check how this unioning works. Now we have already written so many collection reports, so I am very sure that you can create this. Try it out. You will have one repeat line on repeating on the collection. This collection will make use of the attribute collection, and the collections list will be comma separated 1 and 2. So this is the same thing that you have to do. Type colon ledger, type colon group, and the union, and the list will come like this. Now talking about filtration. Now what is a filtration? Filtration is nothing but removing the objects that you do not require in a report. It is required to retrieve only a specific set of objects. So you remove whatever is not required. Then the collection needs to be filtered. Filtering is applied on the collection based on various conditions, based on the customer's needs. All the objects which satisfy the given condition is filtered out. Now to do filtrations, we have 3 attributes: the child of attribute, belongs to attribute, and filter attribute. So we have 3 attributes: child of, belongs to, and filter at our collection. Now belongs to attribute and child of attribute goes hand in hand. Now what is the child of attribute does? The child of attribute helps to control the display of the contents of a collection. It retrieves only those objects whose direct parent is the string specified in the parameter. So when we write type colon ledger and we give child of group sundry, we give child of sundry debtors, it will retrieve only those ledgers which are directly under sundry debtors. Now what will happen is, it will return all the ledgers grouped directly under sundry debtors. Now what will happen if what if you have another group called Mumbai debtors, Bangalore debtors, Kolkata debtors, Delhi debtors under that, and then you have some ledgers created under that? It would not show you the output. Those ledgers would not come. So to get even those ledgers is why the belongs to attribute can be used. So the belongs to attribute can be used along with the child of attribute. This attribute determines whether to retrieve the first level of the objects under the value specified in the child of, or include all the objects up to the lowermost level. So whichever grouping hierarchy it is, does not matter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000. It will retrieve all the ledgers directly or indirectly available under sundry debtors. So that's what child of and belongs to attribute goes hand in hand. Other filtration specifications, the conditions apart from the parent-child relationship, if you have any filtering criteria, that can be specified at filtration. For example, you said you want all the ledgers which are under sundry debtors. However, their closing balance should be greater than 0. So, if they are under sundry creditors or debtors, you can give a child of, and at the filtration, the filter attribute takes the name of a global formula. In this global formula, you can specify that dollar opening balance is greater than 0. So, any filtration apart from the parent-child relationship, that will come as your filter. Now, the filter attribute takes the name of a system formula, but does not expect you to give double add, because the only expectation it has is a system formula. Then we have the filtering functions. Filter AMT total. In case you want to total up some values based on a filtering criteria, you can make use of this function. It is used to get the sum of the value returned by the specified expression when applied to an object, to all the objects. So it's a group of collection you have, and you provide a filter criteria for totaling up the amount, and the return type will be amount. Similarly, we have filter QTY total. It is similar to your filter AMT total. The difference between AMT total and QTY total is the QTY total will return you the value based on quantity. So it goes as $filter QTY total colon the collection name colon the filtration criteria colon the value expression. Similarly, we have filter count also, which will count how many objects does the collection have based on the filter criteria. And filter value is used to get the value of a specific expression based on the position specified in the set of objects based on the filtration criteria given. There are a lot of attribute requirements that we have. Well, as seen in the screen, there is a function we have $group sundry debtors. This identifies the group, default group sundry debtors. There is a possibility that you can give a hard-coded value sundry debtors, which is equal to $group sundry debtors. Now, what is the difference between utility of this function and directly writing the text sundry debtors is, in case any person changes the group name in the master, $group sundry debtors still can identify that it is sundry debtors, but the name has been changed, so it can identify that. But when you give the text sundry debtors, it is actually matching the text, which fails. So it is better to use functions. So similarly, for group sundry debtors, we have for group sundry creditors, we have for group bank, we have for group cash, we have for every kind of group or function. So even if your customer changes the name of the group, your code will not fail. So this is a try it out that you will have to create a report which has a collection of type ledgers and only those which has sundry debtors. Then when you write belongs to yes, and you can get all the details, and for filter criteria also you can write a filter criteria. So you can write a code on this also. So there are 3 try it outs that you will need to write. The first try it out is create a report to display the list of ledgers under sundry debtors. So the collection will be of type ledger, child of $group sundry debtors. So one is ready. Second, simply add belongs to yes to that, and you will see the change in the number of objects returned by this collection. Third, you try a filter criteria of your own and check the output that you need. We've already seen the functions for filtering. Now coming to sorting. Sorting refers to the arrangement of objects in a specific order within the collection. The ordering is done on base of the specific method that is available in the object. This can be in ascending or descending order. Now the sort that you are going to do at your collection level is only for the view purpose. Internally it is not going to change the position of the object. So in case there is a specific criteria or specific way that you want to sort the data, you will have to provide your sort. Now the sort that we are doing, by default the sort is on the name of the object. However, with the help of sort attribute colon at our default is a system name. It is a system formula which carries a system name default. That means by default the collection should be sorted first on the closing balance, and if the closing balance is same, then on its name. Now coming to the searching, the collection capabilities have been able to index the objects based on a particular method. Whenever a collection is indexed on a particular method, it allows instant access to the corresponding values without a need of complete scan. When you actually have to search for a data, it scans the entire database of your collection to fetch the value. With the help of searching, it will not do a complete scan, but as and when it comes across that value will be fetched. And the searching can be done with the attribute search key at collection level. This implies that a unique key is created for every object, so very similar to the primary key that we talk about in our other databases. For every object which can be used to instantly access the corresponding object and its values. The function which is used to retrieve the values from the collection based on the key specified is $collection field by key. So there is a function provided $collection field by key, which you can use at your field level status to fetch the value. So the search key attribute, you can provide multiple method combinations. And the function collection field by key colon the method name colon the key formula and the collection name. The method name will be from the collection. The key formula will be from your interface, and you will get the output. And this is an example of that. So as per this example, we have defined a search key on $name for the collection My Ledgers. In the field value, $closing balance is retrieved based on the name of the ledger. In this case, the retrieval is much faster as compared to the ordinary retrieval. If you write $closing balance, when the data is very huge, comparatively this goes faster than the regular $name. This capability is very useful when we come to matrix reports where we need two or more dimensions in the reports, where we have multiple rows and columns. Now coming to the advanced capability of extraction. The collection capabilities is to extract the information from the collection using the other collection, including its sub-objects, with the choice of methods, filters and sort orders. specific attributes are available at collection level to achieve this. Currently, first thing that we have is the function $collection field. This is used to get the value of specific expression as applied on the object of a collection. So you can write $collection field colon the value expression, that's the method name, position number 1, 2, 3, 4, and the collection name, collection, voucher type, or ledger entries. You can provide any collection name. Now, what is a grouping and aggregation? Well, prior to Tally ERP9, totals were generated using total and aggregations. However, from Tally ERP9, a major technological advancement in Tally ERP9 is the data roll-up in the TDL by collection group by. So, we have introduced something called as group by at collection level, which is a part of the TDL language capability, and this has increased the speed of our report very fast. It will facilitate to generate large summary reports. Now we also have a function called $AMT total. As the function suggests, the function is used to get the sum of the values of type amount returned by a specific expression to all the objects of a collection. Then we have call QTY total. Again, it is similar to call QAMT total. The only difference is that it will return on quantity. Similarly, we have for num total, it returns based on the number. Then there are other advanced capabilities using it as table. Table utility we would be seeing in the next session, where we discuss about the user-defined fields. Integration capabilities using HTTP XML collection is nothing but to gather a live data from the HTTP web service delivering XML. The entire XML automatically gets converted to TDL objects, and a detailed discussion about this topic has been done in the advanced session of objects and collections. Even for dynamic object support, you can only do the alteration in the existing internal object if and only if it is available. However, when we introduce the dynamic object to support, this type of object is added and depends upon the specification of the type attribute. In case the type attribute is not specified, it defaults adding an empty standard object, which holds true for a collection, keeping in mind the latest changes. Again, a detailed discussion on the dynamic object support has been done in our advanced objects and collection session. A detailed session has been covered for the capabilities for remoting at collection level, writing a TDL compliant reports. So a separate session on the advanced sessions has been done. Thank you. For further queries, please do write to our support desk at support.tallydeveloper@tallysolutions.com.